Hi, it works. Okay, so Chris, so can you introduce yourself actually? What's your second name? It's Chris Van.
Chris Van Loggerenberg, or Chris Van Loggerenberg, like in Afrikaans
As
speaking.
we say here.
Yeah, and I've got an extensive background in physical education, honors in physical education. I lectured for 5 years and senior lecturer in physical education at a teachers training college, and I was in charge of physical conditioning. And then I got involved with aerobics dance, and got involved with an organization to certify aerobic instructors to be proper qualified. And then I joined South African Rugby, and I moved from one province to franchises, and then at the end, as a conditioning and skills coach, I ended with the national team, the Springboks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And now you run this gym here, and you also have a website that has a very interesting CD. What's the website?
My website?
Yeah.
It's fitco.co.za.
Fitco.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. I saw that you do a lot of training on the whole body movements, and
Yes, yeah.
that looks very interesting. My first question would have been, how would you define being healthy?
I think for me the most important thing about healthiness is to be sort of occupied on our normal lifestyle activities and sort of more organized, structured sort of form of exercise or anything that's kind of competitive nature, is to be really free from any form of discomfort. For me, at the dis-ease situation we don't want to be in. We want to be in an ease situation. So we have to have the freedom of movement without any restrictions. And if there are restrictions, it's either in the acceptance of the fact that I'm growing older and I can still be healthy and strong. But actually freedom from disease is most probably the big healthy thing that incapacitates us, that we can be active. Now, for me, a human being has to remain mobile as long as possible.
Yeah, especially as population grows older. Now, we discussed earlier the importance of not falling in the trap of having very hedonistic or perhaps self-centered objectives when one tries to get into health. What's your take on that?
Well, I think, every person is going to have a different approach to when it comes to the first step is like, I want to do something for me. I want to do something about myself. But a lot of people arrive at lots of different goals and objectives to get active. Either someone tells them they're overweight and they feel like awkward and they want to do something else, also to please other people. And a lot of people get to a doctor that says that if you don't going to start doing some exercise, you're going to be in very big trouble. And the other thing, a person does, they sort of, I want to do something for myself. I'm not feeling healthy. I don't feel good. I've got no energy. I'm restricted in my movements, and that's not who I want to be. I think a lot of people that I work with is top executives from, say, 48 years old. These are men who are going to really want to enjoy their wealth when they're in their 50s and 60s and they retire. And if they're already struggling with their physical mobility and health situation, it makes them very fearful. And the biggest fear they have is to grow old and not enjoy their wealth. And the second thing is death. I think there's a big fear of death. And then in my game, appearance plays a very big part in people's lives, sometimes too much.
Yeah, because indeed, I like what you said about the six-pack on the beach.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can restate it so that I can record it, but I found that imagery very, very nice.
Yeah. I had one day a trainer came into me with a cover of Men's Health magazine, and he said to me his biggest dream is to be like this guy with a six-pack. So I said to him, Jonathan, no, I'm not asking now. Say now you get the six-pack. What are you going to do with it? So he couldn't answer me. I said, well, you want to show people that, am I right? Because the only person can actually see them is you. So you either have to go inside your bedroom, take your shirt off and look at yourself in the mirror and think, this is amazing. So you're going to have to deal with you. So your ego must be then boosted. But then you're not happy because you want to train them more. So then a lot of things come around. You're like, maybe people will now accept me more that I've got a six-pack. And maybe what will happen is some people will be interested in to have a relationship with me or come up to me. So if that doesn't happen, you've got to go to a place where you can take your shirt off. So you walk on the beach, and now you're walking the beach from one end to the other, and you go like, right, it's got to happen now, because I can't get more ripped than this. And so I'm expecting some young girl to run up to me and say, whoa, you're an amazing man, I want to be with you. So that's not going to happen. Or some people are going to sit and say, God, that guy's a mind. I want to have abs like him. But how would you know? So you have to do mind reading. You need to look in their heads and go, that is what they're saying. So you are so involved with your false self here about all your appearance. But when no one comes to you, you have to go home with a six-pack. Now you're sitting with a six-pack again. So at some stage, you're going to have to lose the six-pack. But it's impossible to keep that sort of regime going. Either for lifestyle reasons, mostly lifestyle reasons, it will change. And when the first sort of structure of your abdominal six-pack changes, that's a horrific feel. Because you sit there and you go like, what's this? Suddenly you've got a fat roll that you haven't had before, and then it kills you. So you've got two choices here. Either I'm growing older, I've got to accept the fact, or you have to change your lifestyle again, or you got to become obsessive again. So it's a whole chase in a circle.
And of course, the media, the health magazines, they kind of feed that obsession because they kind of always sell you the most amazing bodies and the most almost impossible or very hard to get objectives. So what's the solution then? How do you refocus on what's important?
You know, I think this is going to be never a thing that's going to be achieved in today's society. And it's like convincing people what is wrong and right, because what is now wrong and right? But all the advertisements that's been created in this world is illusionary based. It's a false impression. But most of those covers are photoshopped, you know, so there's not the real thing. And secondly, I think is also that for people to do it for their health, most of the times that when they want to is when they get warning signals.
Yeah.
So when you're young and your health's still in good state, it's all cosmetically driven and acceptance driven, so illusion based. And then when you grow older, I realize there's cardiac heart disease because of fatty tissue build around the waist. Your best buddy dies around the corner at 40 something. You get a big like fright, and now you're going to do something about it. The best other checkup is that if you have regular medical checkups for insurance policies and that you get your warning signs from there. But we don't know how strict those doctors really are, saying you're in big trouble. You know, for me, it's like I understand body composition very well. So I've also got to trust what research tells me about the waist-hip ratio. For me, the waist-hip ratio is most probably the greatest indicator of where you will be going. And it's an uncomfortable feeling having sort of bags hanging on your hips in the back, you know, and your abdominals or your tummy hanging over your belt. You know, you can't see your navel anymore, you know, and things like that. And I think where we see it a lot is when people sit comfortably in chairs, when their hand starts resting on top of their abdominals and their tummy, because there's a big bloated tummy sitting there. And I think they are sort of unconsciously already cut off. So danger sign could be most probably the only one that can save them. Most people get in shape once they had some cardiac heart disease scare, or a mild heart attack, or a huge heart attack with bypass. And they have no choice.
Yeah.
So the choices are always based that all our things in life is based on two things: choices and then the decisions. And sometimes we need guidance for that.
Yeah.
And I think looking at the statistical sort of overviews or results of the deaths that we have currently, and by far stress is the biggest killer. And stress is so related to our lifestyles. And the one thing that goes aside with stress is how we fulfill this sort of gratification thing with food or things or people.
I'm guilty for that.
Yeah.
That I know that for me, food is a gratification for stress.
Yeah.
So I know that my problem is not food, is stress.
Yeah.
So I have to go to the source. Yeah. And otherwise because indeed life is more, when you think about it, about just yourself or enjoying the surroundings, even doing sports outdoors and being in contact with nature. And yet the paradox is that a lot of us, we go to the gym, which is inside, and we run on the treadmill and instead of outside, and yet that's because it's convenient and often we don't have much other possibilities. What would be your advice for my readers that on how to either better manage their stress or better fit with their surroundings, so that to not fall in the trap of being self-centered?
I think the thing happens is people can do self-assessments on themselves. You know, they can say, am I sleeping well at night? And then the most thing is the irritability and the anger that goes amongst people, and the perfectionism, and to be able to control on the outside, even to such an extent that they want to start controlling how they are active and they're not freeing themselves up. And because of all that stress factors, the portals are all shut down. So once guys go through that level of perfectionism, creativity can go out the back door. So their creative thinking, where the brain is situated, is sort of diminishing, and the guy becomes a lot more intellectual driven. So the true sort of aspect of like, when I move, I'm freeing myself up. But how conscious are people when they start moving in a gym environment? Because now with all the iPods arriving, people are really not consciously or mindfully working out anymore, because they have got a distraction that tells them they're in trance-like state. And I've found that once people put the iPods in their ears, their connection with their movement in space and time diminishes. They become machines, and sort of an automatic machine. And the end result is, if I read a book on a bike, and I've got my iPod in, the result of the physical activity will take care by itself. But you're basically completely in a non-communicative state with your body, because you have been taken away. And most people on drugs can train forever, they can dance forever, they can move forever, because the brain has been altered. So for me to get mindfully active in my work, to become a human being that are consciously present, I basically have to sit, if it's a bike, which I don't really like, sit on the bike and become in unison with the bike. So get off the stationary bike and go take a mountain bike and go into the woods and see how you have to connect you with the bike and to nature. And that is consciously involvement of where you're taking care of yourself, connecting in all domains. So the key thing is for people to return to a conscious state of work. And that is going to be the challenge. I think that's why yoga is so popular. Instead of being the fit yoga types, where the real yoga is basically the connection between the soul and the body. Whatever the soul may mean to a lot of people, but the message that they're singing out to people is mind and body. And no soul is being in place. Soul can just be your heart. Soul can just be a feeling. It doesn't have to be some mystical, bright light in the sky, So for me, the key thing is that we are a lot mindless active in the work, active in our work. And I'll give you two examples what happens. When people run on a treadmill with an iPod in their ears, they're slamming Mother Earth underneath that treadmill so loud, because they understand, they have no feeling for their body in space. The injury rates of that will be 10 times more higher, because they are not consciously involved in how they're striking the actual movement track. So when you run in touch with yourself, you'll run with a very strong posture and a very good sense of awareness. When I run with an iPod in my ear, there's no awareness.
I agree.
So I can play audio clips for people running on a treadmill with the iPod, and how hard and heavy they run. And I can make sure a guy can do weight training and throw the weights up down on the floor with an iPod, doesn't even hear that it slams the floor. He's in his own little world. So I think what's happened is everybody's becoming more in isolation.
Interesting.
Yeah,
it's certainly harder to pick up girls in gyms anymore, because they all listen to music.
And they're unaware who's around them. No one's looking around anymore,
True.
And so for me, it's like, the key aspect of us to be able to engage with nature's activity outside our gym, to make sense that there's a transition between gym and nature, because we've lost nature involvement completely. I mean, there's a huge following of people doing hiking and backpacking and stuff. But when we go to the gym and we can't look after our 7 primal patterns, which is so required for us as human beings to survive aging process, daily activity.
What are those 7 patterns?
The 7 primal patterns, according to the specialists in the states that I follow, the functional training experts or occupational therapists or physical therapists, is number 1, squatting, then bending, lunging, twisting, pushing, pulling.
Twisting is on the side.
Yeah, pushing.
Okay.
And locomotion. It's like, if I want to get out the swimming pool, I have to push myself out the swimming pool. People don't push themselves out the swimming pool. What do?
They walk out.
They walk out on steps.
Yeah.
Everything is made easier.
Yeah.
So you ask an old person in his 70s who's inactive, or in his 60s, or even 57, to get off the floor, they can't push themselves off the floor. They can't squat from the bottom up like a baby. they have to be assisted. If they are not assisted, they will get some form of assistance to push themselves off from. So those 7 primal patterns, and the 7th primal pattern is locomotion. Locomotion is the ability to take my body mass from one space to another in different planes, different heights, different speeds, different terrain, one leg, 2 legs.
That's really survival style, and I kind of agree on that. It's something I'm trying to do as well. What's the and therefore, if you try to develop all these elements, of course, how your body functions is also based on how nutrition feeds it, how it gives it energy, and the quality of the nutrition and nutrients. What's you're fortunate here in South Africa to be in a country where people seem to be fairly food conscious, and food for sure is a good quality here. I can certainly that's my impression. What's your take on nutrition? What's good and what's bad in your opinion?
You know, for me, as this nutrition thing, the first thing I'm going to say that I am not a nutrition specialist, and I'm not a dietitian, and I don't study nutrition. But the key thing for me about nutrition is, number one, we all know what's not good for us and what's bad for us. No one has to tell you about what too much carbohydrates is going to do, too much sugars are going to do, what alcohol is going to do. We all know that stuff. So for me, the whole thing lies about people who follow the nutrition route to be healthy. If they're going to follow a specific diet regime, that is made for a specific population, specific type of person. For me, nutrition is very person-specific, human being-specific. There's lots of nutrients and stuff that work for some people, don't work for other people. You know, a lot of studies made with people like in, say, Iceland, like overweight and fat, and they live into their 80s, 90s. So fat cannot be like that dominant killing factor, you know, and it is like, what is then good for me, not good, what is bad for me? So my philosophy is, currently with people with weight management, is they've got to decrease their carbs, also eliminate the simple carbohydrate stuff, you know, which is a spiking index. So carbohydrates for me is very much based for me on the activity profile of the person. Is he a high intensity person? Is he a long endurance person? Is he an explosive person? Is he just a sedentary person who walks once a week? So everybody's physical profiles are so different, so their carbohydrate needs are also different. But the protein intakes is the one that I would say increase the lean protein intakes, and with that will go your natural oils and fats, you know, like in fish, the omegas, and that, and you get the good proteins. And the other thing is, we are not consuming enough water as it is as human beings. Seeing on what we consist of as human beings, the high percentage of water we as human beings consist of, and how we're replacing that. So for me, my philosophy is very, very simple, and that is like, I go decrease your carbs according to your specifications, increase your proteins according to your specifications, equalize your oils and fats according to your specifications, and the last thing is hydrate yourself. That's my philosophy about eating. And every nutritional diet or diet books that's come out that people follow has all played around those lines. They either eliminate carbs completely, or they eliminate proteins completely, or they make them all even, or they say cut carbs right out and push the fats up and the proteins up. I mean, this Tim Noakes sort of philosophies. So it has worked for certain people with diabetic levels, and all the cardiac surgeons and all the cardiac experts in the world are rebelling and rebelling against these statements that are being made. And I think what the scientists do is they never ever will equate themselves to one specific statement. Because research changes perspectives of people all the time.
And we change.
Yeah, we change, yes. And our needs change. And our food quality changes. Free range versus non-range, you know. And to sort of all organic foods versus non-organic foods. Pesticides versus non-pesticides.
I agree, because I was having discussion with both vegetarian and vegan recently, as well as paleo, so Atkins and high protein diet. And I said, either, regardless of what works or doesn't, everything that you say has to be based on organic, grass-fed meat, animals, or non-pesticide and low fertilizer, low pesticides, especially fruits and vegetables. Because if you eat only fruits that are full of pesticides, you're poisoning yourself. And if you eat lots of meat that is full of hormones, of growth hormones, and has been tortured through its life and death, you're getting the hormones of fear and death from the animals, so you're probably not. You're also poisoning yourself. So the quality is even more important than what, because you have to be very careful with statements that are very general.
That's it.
And one of last question I want to ask is, I've seen you're also involved with sports with kids, and you probably notice how more common children are having weight problems, whereas in maybe in our generation this was, people who start to have a belly at 25 or 30, as I certainly did, but never when you're 10 or 5 and now you see that. What's your take on sports and nutrition and activity for children? How do we push them to be healthy?
Well, I come from a physical education background. So when I finished my stint as a school teacher and a lecturer, physical education started to be vanished out of the schools and it's been replaced by sport. Sports became a lot more specialized, and the pressure on schools to perform on the sports world, especially rugby in our country, cricket became a lot more dominant. So kids doesn't anymore condition themselves for the sport. They want the sport to condition the child for the sport. And that's when you don't go through the preparatory or preparation phases to get physically equipped to deal with the rigorous demands of sport, you're exposing those children like that. But when physical education got taken out of school, the ground foundation for physical education was taken away from the kids. If you think what functional training movements are, functional training movements are like the following. You can walk, you can run, you can jump, you can turn, you can twist, you can roll, you can crawl, you can jump, you can leap, you can hop. How many of those things still happen with kids?
Well, when they're on their own, when they're really young, they do that naturally. But as soon as they get into school, usually they stop doing it.
So all the activities that in primary school preparation for kids for high school should be motor fitness trained. And that means coordination, balance, timing, reaction time, spatial perception, depth perception about my body at that space, So as they're growing, maturing in their little bodies up to puberty, they arrive at puberty and losing most of their primal patterns because it's just not being offered anymore in the schools because they are playing really serious rugby. How many kids can all play rugby? Now a kid starts playing rugby, he gets put into a specialized position, and that's all he knows. If a kid plays rugby and he gets put in 15 different positions every game, every week, maybe he's got an ability to equip himself and be versatile in his cognitive development and his motor development. He's not going to get that. Physical education prepares a child to be physically balanced in all requirements for physical activity, because that is why there are gymnastics and there's game skills and etc. And gymnastics, like I said, and wrestling and all those sort of things prepare them, also develop their personalities. And so Arnold Schwarzenegger at one stage when he was in government pushed hard for the reintroduction of physical education into the schools. The only way we can control obesity is by, first of all, to influence the parents, not the children. The education starts with the parents. And that is the major problem we have. For children, shuts kids down with food. If kids cry, in a shopping center, they give them food. And the people who followed Tim Noakes' diet, the Swedish guys who restarted it, they have found the irritability, irritation, and ability amongst children so high, it was on all the fast foods.
Yeah.
So once they've taken all the sweet stuff away and put them on fat and protein diet, their mood changes was a lot less.
And water.
And water.
Children without water, they get all
yeah. So for me, it's like we have to influence the parents. The education starts with parents.
How do we do that?
Well, you know what? Schools have to make it part of the curriculum to orientate parents, especially at primary school level. And they need to show the case studies. If you look, the stats has been given to us by the Swedish guys that came to do a presentation for Tim about the absolutely depression levels amongst children in the States from 8 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And we have enough stats to prove all that stuff, but the action is a full-time process. And that's going to take a lot of parents to sit down and tell them a little bit who their children are. And parents are driven their own ego personalities to their children by extending them in their sports. I have fathers who's approached me that's prepared to pay me any amount of money to take his son of 19 years old and get him strong with big muscles. I know that there are parents pushing their kids into all forms of supplementation, like creatine, stuff like that, because they get to 12, 13 years old, let's say last year at primary school, and they're under pressure. They want to play for the first team. I was involved in projects where I got headmasters got me out to come speak to parents about their obsessive behavior, about the children performing during games, and the way that they abuse the teachers or the referees. And I had a major project, I can tell you later that, as how do I get parents to take responsibility and actually start respecting the work of a teacher.
Interesting.
And then the coaching perspective, all I made is I organized a father-son game skill, so a rugby skills clinic. I set up all the grids in different age groups. All the parents had to be there with their sons and all the coaches. And I would put the kids through the drills with the coaches, and then I would put the kids through the drills with the parents coaching them, and then I would the parents through the grids, then the coaches coaching the parents how to pass, catch a ball.
Interesting.
And the behavior just changed like that over a period of time during matches, because the parents then actually realized what time and effort and patience is there to coach a 12, 10-year-old how to catch and pass a ball and kick a ball. And they'll be less critical onto in a game scenario when a team loses. The effort that gets taken and to get the child to at least just play that game.
Wow.
So for me, the key thing in here is that it all starts with the parents. Wherever you and I are from, it starts with our parents.
Yeah, for sure.
What's wrong and right in exercise? What's wrong and right in religion? You know, that is where the confusion comes in the wrongs and the rights. But when I'm right, then I want to prove you that you're wrong. But when I'm right, it's very hard for me to prove to you that you're right.
So many people are religious when you talk about vegetarianism or things like that.
It's a cult follower. It's like the next cult. And it's like, this is the only thing. And they always get disappointed.
Yeah, and aggressive as well.
Yeah, and they forget the essence of why they're actually there, you know, and that is, you know, it's nearly like convincing people to come do this thing. The one woman tried to sell me this nutritional supplementation, and she said to me, you know what's the worst thing that can happen to you? Taking this product, you can get better. You know, and why did it have the worst thing come in there? It's like a cliche, it's a quote that's been written down for them to use. So there's nothing coming here from the soul, the natural abilities. You know, so for me, like when I work out with people, and I'm not a trainer, and I'm not an instructor, I'm mostly more a coaching teacher. So I'm trying to listen and watch human behavior when they move. I look at the way they can flow in their work. And I also, when I speak to them, I ask them a question. I'm listening to what they're telling me. Sometimes it's the tone they're coming back at. Is the anxiety building? Is it a resentment? Is it a critical, a negative statement? Is it actually self-pitying? And they always sort of go on that, but they're jokingly saying that. They will say, so I said, so what do you think? Give me some feeling that you've had during this movement I've just made it up. And they go like, I'm useless. So then I go, tell me that again. And then I don't want to say, and then tell me that again. So it says, then they can't say I'm useless like they did. So when I say, tell me that again, they say, oh, I said that I am useless. So now I'm saying to it, now how else can you tell me what you've experienced? I said, the one thing that you don't listen to what I'm saying is I've asked you, how are you feeling? When you say I'm useless, it's not a feeling. It's an emotional interaction with the wrong self.
Yeah.
So I
it's
say,
a strong statement as well.
Yeah, I said, so how can we change that? So I said, and I mean, I'm a physical coach now, but now I'm talking to the women about words, the impeccable use of the word, 4 agreements, you know, the book that's out, 4 agreements. So I said, so what do you think happens to your body when you say, I'm useless. She said, couldn't be good. I said, there must be such a negative energy vibration going through your cellular system. It must be shuddering like this. So how can you soothe that? Just how can you express the feeling that you've had, what you've experienced? And they'll say, I say, help me to talk. And they say, I can't. I say, okay, I'm going to ask you questions later again. So I don't put pressure on them wanting the answer. So eventually I get a person saying to me, wow, shoot, I really had to work hard. I'm feeling muscles that I've never felt before. I am, there's an aching pain, but it's muscles I never used. This is amazing that I actually can get here. And then they go, and I want to get better at this. I said, now how does that compare to being I'm useless? I said, now let's start again. So then I say, stand for me like this, show me the old you. And then the tummy falls out, shoulders hang, neck forward. I said, tell me what you see. And they go like, no, that is shocking. It's terrible. I said, I will give you the new you in 10 seconds. But you got to do what I tell you. It will be rigid, but tell me what you see. So then I pull their bodies into a neutral spine. I give them a pizzazz, a balletic feel where there's aesthetics. And I give them what a woman really wants. And it's poise, grace, and a bit of sexuality. So then I go, show me again. I said, hold it there. And I say, slowly turn your head to the left-hand side. And then they go like, what do you look like now? And they go like, I look firmer. I said, no, try again. As they say, I look straight up. I go, try again. And then they carry on like that, running away from the truth. And then I go, please tell me, what is it that you want to hear, Chris? I said, okay, I'll do the old you again. And I'll do the new you again. I said, what are you seeing? I see you. I'm seeing you here. Okay, tell me what you see. And he goes, I look beautiful. Thank you.
And that's what a woman wants.
Yeah. She says to me, I look beautiful. So I said, do you want to go back where you came from? Never. No. I said, tell me what you're seeing now. She goes, a sexy woman. I said, and where is the tummy? She said, half is gone. So it was never a problem, am I right? You were just slouching. Now let's work with that. So I want you to give me consistency moving with this optimum performance, a good posture for you that will make you feel in touch with your body. That when you point your toes, it's coming via the feeling from here into your toes. And then I go, if you don't get goosebumps in your training session, no connection. No connection. I can stand in front of women that I train, a group of women, and I'll say, I want you to feel that. And in a second, I got goosebumps coming up. This morning, and yeah, I'm getting goosebumps again. My legs are full of goosebumps.
I have that when I swim.
Yeah.
That's why I swim a lot.
So when I get shuddering up, something must have happened in my life. What was that? I turned in here. I went to the most uncomfortable, scary place that I never wanted to go to. But I couldn't get there by myself. Circumstances had to get me there. So what are the circumstances for everybody to come to me and say they want to change their lives and become active? I don't know. There's too many factors. A lot of women arrive here with no self-esteem. 90% of women arrive here has no self-esteem. No self-image, no self-concept. And you know how they get away with it? Laughing, making jokes, dressing up, makeup.
Why is that, you think? Why is it? Because low self-esteem is pretty common in men, but it's even more common in women. I'm always surprised because I don't know, they can do so many more things that we can't, like children. Why is that, you think?
Because my personal view is, women has been given in the centuries. Maybe the woman has become more to their rights now. Women is not given enough chance to empower themselves. They had a specific role to play. They have been labeled. We've been labeled as the caregivers, and they are being given as the caretakers.
Yeah.
So we provide. That's our role. You provide, and I take care. So we've got labels.
But that's fine, but still, because taking care of children is a very important task, and that should not make a woman feel...
okay, so where does this start?
Yeah, where does it start?
At parents.
Parents again.
At birth. In the womb. And I know that's where mine started. I'll give you a story what happened to me. And I was told the story through the dysfunctional time in my life. parents, my mom and dad fell pregnant in the 50s when you fall pregnant without being married is seen as a sin.
Okay.
So she was scolded and scrounded by her parents about being bad, and that I will become their punishment.
Not wise.
Okay? In the womb, I already had that because my mother fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
So her and my dad had to get married. Not because they loved each other, they were in love, but not because they really worked at their love.
Yeah, I understand.
So they grew up both with no self-esteem. So I had no chance to escape that. So for me, the way I cope with that is your buddy is here. The only way for me to escape that is to go for the top, to go for the high.
Perfectionism, and
yeah.
You want to prove them.
Yeah.
That you're worth.
And disassociate. No love, dissociated. It was a duty. They were my duty.
Okay.
So for me, my survival was achievement. Because my value as a man would be more appreciated if I achieved. Credentials with degrees behind my name. Sport achievements. I even went and modeled a lot. Because I wanted them to see that I can do something with my physical appearance. So that when I appear in magazines or newspaper or television, they go, that's our son. But I was living in their heads.
Yeah.
So for me, as that pressure, that self-esteem thing started at childhood. And I get a lot of kids coming to me here who, from a physical perspective, they haven't had physical education foundation. Like I'm training a boy 16 years old now. And he arrived here like plumpish, can't make a C team in rugby, so his self-esteem is so low. And some way, because of my own experience, I could give him movement and work and give him the tools to feel good about what he's doing. And when he struggles and he wants to cry, I go, cry.
Yeah.
Cry, my boy. Yeah, it's not nice to not be able to pull yourself up to the top. We're going to do it. You and I are going to do it. And I said, you know what? Don't harm yourself with bad foods anymore. Why will you harm yourself? 3 things I concentrate on. Non-harmful foods, non-harmful exercise, and non-harmful thoughts.
Yeah.
I said, just think about that. His father said to me, 6 weeks later, his friends come visit him. They go like, what's going on with Eddie? What do you mean what's going on with Eddie? He's a different boy. He's walking upright. His body has changed. And he said to me, his father said to me, I'm very close to his dad. He says, Chris, in 3 months, this boy by himself has changed his life. He will not eat bad foods. He trains 3 times a week. He's connecting with his dad. His dad's a wonderful man. And for him, it's not about getting into the A-team here. It's like, I am doing this for me.
Exactly.
And he doesn't have to be in an A-team. But the peer pressure at school is so high for boys. They will do anything to be in the A-team.
And what's the peer pressure for young women these days?
Women want to be accepted by the opposite sex and in corporate sectors.
Okay.
Good-looking women get away with murder because if I'm good-looking and a good body, then my appearance is already strike 1, I've got to tick off. I just have to have some degree and some personality. So the pressure on women to be impeccable and in a sense of their shape is purely because of the media again. Because where did we in our lives get to the word, this is the most beautiful woman in the world. She's number 1 rated as the most beautiful woman in the world, and he is the sexiest man in the world. Where the hell did they get that quote from?
Yeah.
Now, I say that to good-looking girls or non-looking girls. You tell me you want to be as good-looking as that person. You wish you was good-looking like her. I said, where did that rule come from? That your eyes must be X shape, X color, this wide, cheekbones, figure of X, Y, and Z, centimeters. Where did that come from? It's the advertising market that created the whole sexuality and acceptance because they have got you sucked in. Because you will buy the magazine to get thinner in 6 days. You will eat X, Y, and Z because before, in my whole life, have I never ever published before and after pictures. Taken. I've taken a picture, but I've never gone afterwards. As a person is not a comparative machinery. Because I can put an old Volkswagen and a new Beetle together. Why do I want to compare them? They were both unique in their own days. So why compare before, after? And so I have very strong philosophies about comparison because what I've learned in my work on myself, comparison stands for the following. is when I compare myself to a body on a picture, I'm stripping myself of my own uniqueness. So comparison is stripping myself from my own uniqueness.
I see, I see.
And once I strip, it means I am not happy with myself. And the programs I run for the women on the outside, which is very physically driven for 3 months, nutrition, breathing exercises, flexibility, and self-journaling. And that is what 2 words they share with me at the end of tubing, what they love about themselves, how their body's changed, is they are happy and they finally found me time. Me time. Time for myself. Moms.
Oh yeah, that's important.
Moms do not have me time.
Because what is true is that taking care of a family is often underappreciated, but certainly by children, which consider it granted, until the time they have themselves children. I speak for myself here.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, by society, it's a kind of, yeah, there's no time for yourself. And we need me time. We need that.
Ladies, and you spoke about the women, they they understand time with the children. They understand time with their husbands, time with their friends. You ask her, well, when last? I'll ask this question to the woman in the group sits there. Okay. When last have you spent 10 minutes on your own and do no things and don't think? No one can tell me that. Not one person.
So I'm taking 10 days every year alone to be out of everything.
I go to a farm many kilos away from here in the Karoo.
Yeah.
And there is no reception and there's no electricity. There's solar. And I go in those mountains in the back of my stone cottage by myself alone. I spend 3 hours there. I talk to insects. I talk to mountain bucks. They stand there and they went like, and then I'll go on the other side and go, and then they run 5 yards and they stop. And their ears go like this. That's how I spend my time.
That is great because we need that. We used to be like that. It's like the Kung in Botswana.
Yeah.
The Bushmen. They don't go on Facebook.
If you think about, they say deep squatting is bad for you. Your knees and your back. Bushmen are sitting around campfires
like that.
Hours.
Yeah, of course. We're made for squatting.
So we don't squat anymore. There's a big education following in the States that teaches older people infancy skills. And that's what I did with my one client. I taught him how to roll over from his back to roll over. I taught him to roll and how to get to his knees. And then from his knees, I taught him how to get up. And it was his biggest achievement in his life for a very long period. And when I came to his 75th birthday, he only thanked me and some other person. He didn't even thank his wife for giving his life back. And all I taught with him, all I showed him is how to be primal again. I make him walk here, and I said, hold on to that thing, swing around and come this side out. He's 75. He's like, no, I can't. I said, you can, go. Comes around. I said, walk, turn 360 and walk on. I said, Harold, when last have you done that? Can't remember. I said, Harold, jump. Jumps. All he gets off the floor. I said, wait. When last have you jumped, Harold? Can't remember. Harold, there's a piece of equipment, crawl through there. He looks at this thing, I think he's not going to get through there, he's going to get stuck. Harold, climb through this thing. Because I can see, he can't see, he fears his size. Climb through there, can't believe it. The other day I said to him, Harold, tie your shoelaces. Can't get there. So I said, by the end of my training, you'll be able to tie your shoelaces. You can kick away the slip-on shoes now. Because he's going to bend over and tie the shoelaces. So that's my
simple
passion.
Things.
That's my passion now at this moment.
Absolutely. This is great.
He says to me, they're always leaving behind on airports. He has a back problem, he's got a knee problem and a hip problem. And he says they can't carry suitcases and they all walk away from him with suitcases and he comes very slowly on. I got him now to carry the suitcases and step right behind them and smiling at them. And I did that. I made him take 2 of those benches, those weight training benches. They both got handles with a little wheel in the back, and I make him walk up and down with it. And I took a video clips of it, and we sent it to all his buddies around the world saying, "I'm getting ready for the airports." Here's another quote. So I'm teaching him how to climb over things. So I put a bench there, and he's got to step over it. Now, he cannot stand on one leg. He can stand on his left leg, but he can't stand on his right leg. So I'm teaching him how to get his hip flexors loose and to step over the bench. So now he steps over this bench. So I say, all you do is look at the ceiling, engage your core, and go, oh, and then he walks over it, and then he smiles. Now I make him walk over 1, 2, 3, and I make him walk step sideways. So they go to a wine tasting occasion event. Big, massive lot of cars, but they have to park so far away from the venue. And it's a long way walking away this way, but there was this hedge. That hedge with a herb garden, same. And getting over that hedge means you just got to walk around the lawn and then you're there. So his wife stands there and he says, let's climb over here. She goes, Harold, please don't do that. You've got a white shirt on, you're going to fall. You can't do it. Please don't do that. You know you can't even step off the staircase. He says, Chris has taught me. So he stands behind the thing like this and he goes like, and he climbs over and he gets to the other side and then he went like, see, all I have to do is put my core in. And she went like, Harold, I'm so proud of you. And he went in there with this massive smile. So the people go, why are you smiling so much? Now I've got some crazy guy that taught me how to walk over hedges, you know. That's my passion, mobility. My talk ends with, I would love to be a specialist in mobility and stability. So our hips and our pelvis starts and ends right there.
I agree.
We need them to be stable and we need them to be mobile, that they can fire the legs to land in proper requirements of where the foot must land. Uneven space, climbing, changing direction, avoiding something. As I'm maturing now, it will become my main specialization is movement science for any age.
Very, very interesting. Yeah. Thanks a lot for the interview. We'll you never know how I'll